Good evening, welcome here. It's really a pleasure for us always to see so many people that I know and that's close to my heart, and a lot of my people that also come as patients perhaps, so it's really a pleasure for me to be here. We're busy with a year course that we are introducing every single month to really grow our brains to have a healthy and a happy brain. So for me it's always a thinking, but don't rush into it. So what I'm doing here, I'm slowly growing into myself. So I don't think you can do this overnight and you've got 10 tips, you go out and you do 10 things. I've been busy with this for many years, so it's something that you ease into, you grow into it. So somebody says it's not the perfection, but the direction. So a slow shift towards the healthiness that we see here, I think is going to be important for us. So today's topic is the flowing of life, which is going to be about water, and I hope to show you how important, centrally important water is in our life, and also movement. And I'm also happy to say that JP is also going to be part of our team tonight, and as well as Krista. Where are you, Krista? Oh, there you are, as well with us. And so we're really growing together as a team, and so I'm very happy to have everybody here. So the previous videos are available, 1 and 2, at this site. You just put in Optimum Brain Health, Chris Beer, and then you'll get the 2 previous videos as available. So as we look at our beautiful brain, so we have to start with, do you love your brain? I mean, do you really enjoy your brain? I mean, do you think that your brain is something that you can enjoy? That's always a place to start. So as you understand your brain, you can see it's basically only 2% of your weight, your total weight. But 20 to 25% of all your blood flow, your oxygen, your metabolism is really centered in your brain. So it's a very important organ to know that you can't treat your brain like you treat your hand. So whatever you do with your health has got a massive effect to your brain, because your brain demands a quarter of basically what happens in your body's metabolism. So you can't just be happy my sugar is 5.6. Is your brain happy with 5.6? So we'll get into that as we go along. So it's also the fattiest organ. Did you know that? So brain is really, if you take all the water out, 60% at least fat. So that's important. So if you eat fats, you eat healthy fats, it's important to get omega-3 in. It's important to get DHA in. If 50% of the healthy fats are DHA, you really need to understand how that is important, and the whole metabolism of fat, because your brain is made out of that. Cholesterol is 25% of all your cholesterol is in your brain. So it's also an interesting thought about that. Then you've got 86 billion brain cells. I'm not sure who counted it. It's probably difficult to be exact, plus or minus 5, I think. And there's each, oh, that's my, I've got little alarms telling me when to eat and when not to and all that. So can't eat after 7, hey? That's my alarm, don't eat after 7. So you've got thousands of connections. With every billion, of 86 billion, you can actually times thousands of all the connections that you can see there. Now I think it's helpful to know if you're teenagers, your brain is only fully developed at 25. So that's very important. So the front part of your brain that has to put on brakes, have insight, have empathy, and all those things that we sort of so appreciate in our spouses, is only fully developed at 25. So when you go through the teenager years, perhaps, except my son, he's, I think, fully developed already. Besides him, but all other teenagers is really has got this thing that you have to understand till 25. So don't treat a teenager's brain as if it's an adult brain, because it's still developing till 25. So that's just important by and by. Now, one of my passions and why I'm doing this to the public is because of this concept, the broken brain epidemic. It's a very good thing that you can download. There's 50 top speakers on a conference that spoke about this broken brain epidemic, and it's really a massive thing on earth, and nobody's really speaking about it. Everybody's just going on with their lives. But let's take Alzheimer's dementia. You've got, if you become 85 plus, you've got 30% chance, up to 50% chance of having Alzheimer's yourself. It's a massive statistic if you think about it. 50-50, maybe 1/3, maybe. It's a very high part of it. Then, if you look at in America, they reckon that 9% of people, children between 8 and 15%, have got ADHD. 2 to 9%. autism has jumped. I mean, don't we just hear of autism everywhere, you know? In the old days, you'd never heard of it, so that's really jumped. Why has that jumped? Psychiatric disorders affects 26% of the adult population. Antidepressant use is tripled. Now, even now as we speak, we're now seeing Alzheimer's changes in dolphins, you know? So what's happening even in our sea, you know, in a sense, you know? So there's a lot of changes that we just sort of somewhat blasé about, you know, but it's a broken brain society. So are you living with an idea that you can be part of that society, you know, and if you look at the statistics anywhere along this line, you know, somewhere in your family, and can you do anything about it? Are you just, in a sense, are you living as if you can do something about it, or you're just living, you know? So that's part of my passion maybe on the negative side. But on the positive side, if you enjoy your brain, if your brain is full of vitality, there's very few things so amazing as to have a brain that's fresh and on the go and on the move and focused and happy, you know. So we're going to go to start with water. Now, I really learned a lot, you know. Sure, I thought I knew water, you know, this white stuff in my tap, you know, not so much in my tap anymore, but in my tap. But it's really more complicated, we'll see as we go along, and really important to understand exactly what it's all about. So basically, we often think, you know, drink 6 to 8 glasses of water, that's what we say. And maybe drink some, you know, expensive bottled water, you know, that's what we say. You know, that's maybe with some total of what we think water should be, you know. And we say, maybe tap water is not so good, but we're not really sure. You know, but we drink water anyway, we pay money for it, you know. But I'm going to really try to introduce why water and understanding water is really central to our health. So it's obviously everybody knows what water is, so we think. So it's obviously colorless, transparent, odorless, and it's the basis of all our living processes of our body. So as we go along, you know, the question is, do you know water? That's a question. Have you ever asked, as an example, that your water be tested locally? Is it important? You know, is it something anybody's done here? You know, I'm not sure we have. You know, but we've asked our local people to tell us, is our water safe? What's in our local water? You know, so do we care what's in our local water? Does it make a difference? Because even if you drink the water, can the metals go through your skin if you bath in it? Have you thought of it? You know, so if we can get Epsom salts and we bath in Epsom salts and the magnesium can get into us, you know, should we care what the water is? If there's any metals or pesticides in the water, as an example, the coffee you drink at other places, do you use water that's filtered or just use normal water? So we need to know something, I think, of ourselves. You know what's inside of water? You know, as we said, we'll go into that. And we're going to get to living water and EZ water. Have you ever heard of that? The 4th phase of water. I know you have that, so that's good. But have you heard of that before? So it's interesting because there's a certain site that shows you all the anomalies of water. You know, you might think the freezing point is this, but is it? You know, you might think the boiling point is this, but is it? You know, there's a huge amount of things that can't be explained, and we'll see by the 3 phases of water. You have to sort of cut off things to understand water, but you've cut one off. Because there's things that doesn't make sense what we've learned about water, which I'll go into. So basically, if you look at the Blue Drop report, 2010, they analysed 94% of South Africa's water, and basically from 787 supply systems, 38 were considered excellent quality. So maybe the others are okay, but only this amount was in that year excellent. Cape Town was luckily top 10 at that time, so that's good. It's in a good place. In 2001, they rated South Africa 47th, you know. But where are we? Is it still the same? You know, that's a question to ask. Are we still on par with what we were there? Blue Report 2014, from 2012 to 2014, an 8% drop in quality. You know, in that time, nearly, you know, that's a lot. We also followed up 45% of our sewage plants are not working properly. So whatever happens to that goes into our dams or rivers or wherever it goes to be. So that's not so good. 58 of 88 towns tested did not adhere to strict set of quality standards. You know, so it's also interesting to look at that part. Cape Town North plant at one stage had 50,000 units of E. coli. They obviously, I'm sure, changed that. So the question is, do we have to interact a bit more? You know, does it make a difference? But obviously, City of Cape Town rejects any messages that says it's not so. Maybe it is. Maybe they're right. I'm not a conspiracy theologian, whatever you want to say. But yeah, so they say they test 5,007 samples of water every year, and they're happy that everything's all right. You know, so do we take their word or do we not? You know, that's to everybody to go. So the second question you have to ask yourself, do you replace water? You know, because of advertisements, because of addictions, you know, caffeine addictions, sugar addictions, you know, stress. You know, so how much of what you drink, because most animals on earth just drink water. That's just how we are, you know, that's how we made. But we've learned to replace it, you know, by coffee and by teas and by cool drinks and by this and by that and sweetness and milk and, you know, by thousands of things, you know. So the question is that okay? You know, we'll speak a little bit about that as well. As we go along. So there's obviously many other alternatives. I don't know if you guys do alternatives, you know, coconut water and mint leaf water and sort of matcha green tea and cold coffee and, you know, many other good things that you probably can consider. Yeah, so that's probably what one can do. So if you look at your body weight, so 99% of your molecules are water. Okay, that's an interesting thought, 99%. But of your weight, if you just purely take water as water, probably about 42 liters average. Women tend to have less, probably closer to 50%, 60%, and men tend to have more. And part of that is that if you look at the differences in muscle, I've got 80% water, and fat percentages, I've got 10%, and there's sometimes a ratio difference is how we are put together as males and females, larger size muscles, of course. The brain is 75% water, give or take, bones are 25%, so everything has got water in, give or take. But you can see the brain again, in terms of weight, 75% is water. So water is really a massive part of our consistency. So what's the best water is, first of all, it's gravity-fed mountain springs. I mean, how much of you get gravity-fed mountain spring water in? Probably even glacier water is better, isn't it? But we don't get many of that. So we don't get many of it. You can actually go buy or get for free. I think somewhere in Cape Town, in the mountains somewhere. But that's right, Weinberg. But generally speaking, we don't get that. Well, the second best is reverse osmosis. But now you have to understand that you have to, if you put it through a certain thing, you take the structure of the water out. So that's an important concept. So you might just drink the water and you're happy with that, you know. But you have to put certain things back. You have to put some minerals back. You can actually buy mineral sticks for $89 from America, and you can really. I'm not going to do it, but you can. And I saw it takes 2 to 3 days to get here, so you can order that. It's called a miracle wand or something like that. Or you can just put some Himalayan salt back, but you have to put some of the minerals back into it, because with a process you take it out. So that's the first point. But you also have to create a vortex, and that's an interesting thought. Now you can actually see how to do it. You take a 2-liter bottle of water, and you take another bottle, and you've got a little thingamajiggy you put over it that holds another bottle upside down on top of it. So you take the 2-liter water upside down, an empty bottle down, and then it vortex the water down. You know, so you reconstruct the water. So a lot of people do that, you know. I just take a quick spoon, but I'm not sure that's good enough. So I think I'll probably try and ask Michael to make me one. And so it's interesting because you have to restructure the water, you know. So that's an interesting thought. So part of why tap water is not the ideal is because it's hundreds of 20 kilometers of pipes pressing the water, deconstructing the water itself. So we in our minds don't even think water's got any structure, do we? In a sense, but it does, you know. So these are important thoughts. Then a glass container is important. I'm slowly buying every month a glass container for me, because glass is obviously the ideal to contain water in. pH 6.5 to 7.5. Do you think distilled water is good or not? What would you guys say? Distilled water? Distilled. We vaporize it and reuse it and all that. Some people use it for detox, but it's actually toxic for you if you use it all the time, because the pH is completely different. You know, so you can't just drink distilled water. It contains life. Water contains biophotons, which you'll see is the ability to hold light. So we're going to get into life water, that's why the sun is going to be such an important to understand regarding water that's in your body, because living water has got the ability to contain light and energy, and we'll get to that one a bit later. So basically, we've always said, you know, drink 6 or 8 glasses of water. Is it true? Is there any facts to that? You know, there's no facts to that. So nobody's ever really proven that you need 6 to 8 glasses of water. Okay. So and we've sort of say by the time you're thirsty, it's too late. But all the powers that be say it's not necessarily the truth. The older you are, it might be somewhat the truth. But generally speaking, through your life, you know, first it's actually a good indicator that you've been built with. Now drink something, you know, in that case. So first of all, they've looked extensively where did it come from. And nobody can actually say who brought in the 6 to 8 glasses thing. You know, so it's interesting, we just believe stuff, you know, so they think maybe this guy, yeah, you know, said an offhand statement once, you know, and they think in 1945 somebody said, you know, drink 2.5 liters per day, but it's not proven. I mean, you don't need 6 to 8 glasses of water per day. So it's an interesting thought. So they say it's sufficient to listen to your body, which for many years I didn't believe. You know, I thought the time I'm thirsty is really not a good sign, you know. But these guys seem that you can. So these guys say listen to your thirsty signals and develop it. Don't wait over a long period of time. If you know you're going to be in the sun or exercise, that's a different story. But you can obviously preempt the water part of it. But always you look at the color of your urine, your skin, and how many times you go to the bathroom. So they say we should go back to the basics and not just drink as if your body always needs 6 to 8 glasses of water as you go along. The notes, anybody read his book, Waterlogged? So he says that obviously athletes drink too much water and you become waterlogged. He's written a whole book about it. So yeah, so maybe you can, if you're interested, I'm not an athlete, so I don't have to read it, so you guys can read it if you want to. Generally speaking, remember that 20% of your water comes from food. You know, so whenever you think how much water to get in, 20% is from food. Now let's get to the concept of fluoridated tap water. Now, in Africa, it's not such a big thing because we don't have so much money. Because it's a lot of money to fluoridate water to the extent that America does it. Because the powers that be around water, they were actually tasked, you know, get our levels right, you know. And they said, sure, we only use 1.5% people drink it, and the rest goes to wherever, you know, plants. And so why do we pay so much money just to give 1.5% of people fluoridated water, you know? So everybody's water's got somewhat, depending on your local level, some fluoridation in. But as far as I could understand, we don't have a consistent throwing in of, you know, thousands of kilograms of fluoride. But it's an interesting thing if you take it back. I'm not a conspiracy theorist at all. But the only single reason why it's put in was for teeth decay. That's what people say. I mean, it's an interesting thought that you put medicine in an uncontrolled way inside of water. So I can drink 5 liters, you can drink 2 liters. You know, it seemingly makes no difference how much fluoride you would get in, you know. So there's a lot of people that don't like it. So Europe, in a sense, have gone off fluoride. You know, they don't use fluoride in their water. After a while, they also believe that if you get too much fluoride in, your kids can get a lot of problems, you know, especially in the younger age, from your memory problems to arthritis problems to bone fractures to. So it's actually sort of a thing. It's a medicine that in a sense we don't really care so much what happens to it. But it's actually a neurotoxin. A little bit is okay. When most water somewhere you've got a well will definitely have fluoride in. But and again, if you use too much of it, it's a neurotoxin. Actually it's got a very negative effect on your brain. But now, where do you else get fluoride in? Your toothpaste. Is that okay? You know, are you happy with using fluoride? How much should you use? A little bit, lots, doesn't make a difference. Do you absorb it? You know? So it's an interesting thought, especially your children with fluoride, and it's got a nice taste to the toothpaste. How much can they swallow? Not, you know? So how much do you get in? So it's an important thing linked to water. I'm not going to go in depth in that, but there's 500-page dissertations on this. You know, where people really are very not happy that this is available in water. But South Africa, luckily, as I said, doesn't make such a big difference. But if you can use turmeric, it seems to help to detox you. You know, so if you've had too much fluoride, you can get detoxed. So again, contamination. I'm not going to go inside of it. There's hormones inside, you know, water. There's pesticides. There's a huge amount of metals, etc. So it's not just an innocent thing. So in a sense, obviously it differs how well your place is that produce your water, you know, in a sense. But nonetheless, one has to consider all these things. Again, plastic bottles. There's 1 million plastic bottles every minute purchased worldwide, which is a massive destruction. Well, when we come to the next month's one about the toxins, you have to look at what fish eat plastic, because you're going to get plastic in your fish. Previously you got mercury in your fish, which you still do, but now you've got plastic in your fish, you know, so it's really, as I said, the dolphins are getting Alzheimer's, you know, you're on a downward track. So again, plastic bottles not good. The BPA part of it, there's obviously different numbers underneath, which some are better, some are worse, but really switch towards glass is really the way with water. So now I've come to the interesting thought, which is EZ water. Now, why we would really need water in our bodies because of EZ water, which is living water. So again, in your mind, you might think, here's my glass of water, I'll just quickly drink it, you know. But your body, the whole essence of water is EZ water. So if you take any water and you compress it in a nano space, very small space, which obviously your cells, but the character of it changes. You know, so when you think of water, you cannot only think of water that you drink, because you have to think of your mitochondria, which is 10% of your body weight. That is like your ESCOM, that takes in water and produces water, takes in water and produces water. So if you don't look after your mitochondria, what type of water do you have inside of your cells? Can you see what I'm trying to get at? So you think that we get clean water in, which is great. I mean, we should have clean water with no aluminium and all the funny stuff in. So that's a good starting point. But how you treat your mitochondria, and that's where we'll come to exercise as well, and to sunlight, and what you eat, example, all those sort of things, has got a massive influence on this living water which is inside of your cells. You know, so the 6 to 8 glasses is not the issue. It's how you treat your mitochondria and what type of quality water you get in that really determines the living water that's inside of your cells. Now, if you think of ice, you've always got ice, fluids, and vapor, which is the 3 phases. But between every phase, there's an EZ phase. You know, so if you've got enough heat, you can see heat and light goes together. The ice melts. So there's a phase of EZ water as it melts to the next level, and as it goes from water to vapor, EZ level to the next one. So that's why the most healthiest water is glacier water, melted glacier water, because it's still in its EZ phase as it goes forward. So in our consideration, so again, 99% of your water, your body molecules is water, but it's highly structured water. You know, so that's important to understand with special properties. So it's known as 4-phase water, and it's changed from H2O to H3O2. Did you know that? So the water that you've got in your cells is not H2O. You don't have H2O in your cells. You know, you've got H3O2. So it's living water. It's more dense, about 10% more dense than normal water. Its refraction of light is about 10% different. It contains a negative charge. It can hold energy, and it can actually also give energy. So you can see how important it is to understand that your body is really electromechanically and magnetically active, you know, because of this living water that you've got inside. But if your mitochondria is failing for whatever reason, or aging, or you have to little them, what will happen to your body regarding water? You know, so that's a very important thought. So the key ingredient to create this highly structured one is light. You see sunlight. You see a different, and also heat. So that's why when you obviously want to, you know, boil water, that's where heat comes from. So sunlight and heat, and even infrared light, and even infrared saunas has got a massive effect to actually generate this water. Now the idea is that your capillaries, the question is, how do they move your blood in your capillaries? Have you thought about that? Is it the pressure from your heart? Is it what moves it? So it's because it's got energy, innate energy, because of living water in your capillaries. So if you're not in the sunlight, if you're not exercising to heat up your body, so think of all the ways that you can actually create EZ water, better quality. If you exercise, what happens to the heat in your body? It changes water. If you get in the sunlight, what happens? If you get infrared light upon you, like, you know, you can get infrared saunas, etc. If you go into a sauna. So people in Sweden that go to a sauna, that detox themselves and go into the heat, have got much less Alzheimer's, as an example. You know, so it's interesting to start thinking about your water in a different way. Now, because when you go to exercise, we can see why you have to earth. My son always calls me and said, "Listen, Goma," as I walk about my shoes in the morning, to earth myself, because your body wants to harvest electrons from the earth. You know, and it's initially everybody laughed, what? You know, what's this funny electron harvesting from the earth? But the earth is a magnetic field. You're a magnetic field. That's why you can shock somebody if you walk with your feet and touch them if you walk on the mat. So you have to be without shoes on the ground. You know, the best possible place to be is on the beach without your shoes, walking in the sunlight. That's probably the ideal way of changing this water we're speaking. So if you think of EZ water, so why do you need to get in the sunlight? Many other reasons, but this EZ water is one of them as we go along. So basically optimize your drinking water, at least by earthing yourself, because your water, as we said, is living water, so you need to get electrons sorted, but also vortexing your water, as we said before, adding those minerals inside of it, and heating yourself up by exercising and being in the sun. So it makes sense how all these things somewhat come together. It's not just drinking your 6 to 8 glasses of water. So there's lots written about this. You can go to Martin Chaplin for all the anomalies associated with water. It's interesting. You can actually go Google it, you know, and see why water is funny. I mean, if you only think there's 3 phases, you won't be able to explain water. There's a 4th phase, and that's what we are speaking about. Then there's informational pharmacology, which is a way of the future where you can, in water, because it's structured, you can now send signals in to heal cells because it's structured. It can contain water, energy, it can give water energy, so that's why things like infrared therapy is important. You know, having the walking outside on earth, being outside in the open air, deep breathing to oxygenate your body, etc. is so important to that. Other fluids, so generally speaking, one has to drift towards really drinking water. You really don't need much other things. We'll speak about the toxicity next time, about things like cokes and cool drinks and sweeteners and all the other stuff that we so fondly drink. But for now, the idea is really you need water because your body is made up of living water. You need to cultivate this living water by looking after your mitochondria, which is 10% of your body weight. And you can increase your mitochondria, you can even grow them healthily. But the opposite is also true. So what will happen to the living water that's inside of it? Will become sluggish, in that way. So that's an overview. There's much more to be said, but we also have a second part, which is our exercise part. Later on, we'll ask Krista to introduce JP for us, to give us the practical part. I'm not so much the practical part. So why do we need to exercise? Obviously everybody says exercise is good for you, but why is it good for you? So I'm just going to go through the list. It normalizes insulin resistance, which is one of the #1 thing that's associated with Alzheimer's and brain deterioration. So it's not good enough to think that your normal insulin levels is somewhat okay. What about your brain levels of insulin, which is different? How your brain deals with insulin and your body is different. So exercise actually normalizes the insulin inside your brain. Increases blood flow. If you haven't exercised for 10 days, the amount of blood flow to your hippocampus, which is your memory part, can be measurably decreased. 10 days if you haven't exercised. It decreases plaque formation, which is obviously a negative thing for Alzheimer's, as we've, it's obviously built up of plaques. It's a reactive response. Decreases inflammation by working on the cytokines in your brain. And then there's this big word here, morphogenic protein and noggin. It's an interesting word, noggin, But both of them work with, things that enhances brain growth and new cells. So if you've got too much of that and too little of that, then there's no impetus for new cells to form. So that's why you have to exercise. Then it increases GABA, which is also part of your system that balances your brain in terms of mood, etc. It metabolizes stress chemicals. This one here. So if you stress and you exercise, it metabolizes that stress chemical. Increases BDNF, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which is essential for new growth in your brain. For new cells to form, etc. Triggers genetic changes, activates this molecule which works with mitochondria that increases in your brain. So what's the 4 areas that's got the most mitochondria? Brain, retina, your ovaria, and your heart. So I've got 3 of them. So it detoxifies your body, so that, as we said, get stuff out of your body, decreases stress and improves sleep. So that's just some, I can go in detail, but that gives you just a quick, short overview. Exercise in your brain is absolutely, totally essential. So I advocate 3 types of exercises. Don't get overwhelmed. Everybody says, well, I don't even do one. Why are you bringing in 3? But I'll explain why I'm going to bring all of this in. So the first one is an early morning routine. Why? Because 50%, the first 20 to 30 minutes in the morning, your cortisol peaks. And whatever you do in that time, it peaks the most. So you want to start your day with a massive amount of cortisol, and you want your melatonin to go dip down. But you've only got 50 minutes to determine that in the morning. So if you go out in the sunlight to exercise, then you peak your cortisol the maximum it can be, and your melatonin goes down. So you're already planning for your sleep in the night. Because when your brain knows now it's time to stop the clock, your circadian clock. You see, but if you just go from light to light, your brain doesn't know where's the time. But now you put a bookmark in. Now, within that time, I'm going to go to bed. So it helps your bed time. It helps your cortisol through the day. It helps you to wake you up. It's an activation part. But you have to do it barefoot, as we said, to reap your electrons. Why are you doing it? Why do you want to do it separately? You have to do it in the sunlight, as we said. So you already get the sunlight for the water, the e-water that we've spoken about, the sunlight for the melatonin, the sunlight for the cortisol, the sunlight for the serotonin. So your whole body needs the sunlight. So you need at least 10 minutes of sunlight within 30 minutes. Now obviously if it's dark or not, and one can always get excuses and things, but generally speaking, upon awakening, that's the first things that one does. Now what type of exercises do I advocate? Why do I like that? I like nitric oxide dumping exercise. Have you ever heard of that? So in your arteries, on the side of your arteries, you've got nitric oxide of the Ni that sits there. So as you wake up in the morning, it's on the sides of your arteries. Now, any quick active movement dislodges it, to come into the circulation. It opens your heart arteries and even your brain arteries. So you immediately get a flood of good oxygen to your heart and to your brain. So, and it's also one of the quickest ways that you can do that. So it's only 3 minutes, but you do it in the morning. And then you have to wait 2 hours to do it again. So you can basically, I'll do it in between if I'm becoming stressed between patients quickly, it's 3 minutes, And you can actually look at there's a whole video, It's basically 4 movements, and I'm not going to do it accurately for you guys, so no laughing, So one is you look at the sun, and then you sort of do, first is a squat, but you also have to do the sitting part, which I think you can do much better than me. So you go up, you do 20 of those quick, but it's just quick and sharp and down. Then you do 20 like this, quick and sharp, stopping. You do 20 of this, going down like this. If you've got a shoulder problem, you can go in like this and out. And then you do 20 of this, and you repeat it 3 times. So let's give it take 3 minutes, and you dump your nitric oxide. Heart is happy, you're in the sunlight. And then you can do, if you want to, I do my morning devotions walking. So I go outside, and I walk up and down, and I do my prayer, my Bible reading, so all do it walking, in the sunlight and out. So then I try to coordinate things. I don't have a lot of time, So I coordinate the sunlight, my exercises, my morning devotions, everything in the sun, walking without shoes, and breathing correctly. So if you breathe through your nose, there's 50 processes that gets linked rather than your mouth. It's better to breathe through your nose, so unless you're obviously very short of breath, I'm sure. So that's the first one that I say. Now the next one is, so the first routine is can you see how it's scientifically incorporated, but you can be with sunlight, do your feet, do you look at your EZ water, get your cortisol up, melatonin down. So it's very scientific, and you can really read up all about this. So it's just 10 minutes. 10 minutes is really, you feel sharp because your brain has got oxygen, your cortisol is high, you feel awake, so all those sort of things, so that's good. The second exercise is daytime routine. Now, if you sit for more than 3 hours a day, whatever work you do, it equals smoking risk, and you're deaf. Did you know that? 3 hours. So if you sit more than 3 hours, it equals the same risk as smoking, even if you exercise an hour afterwards. So smoking can also exercise an hour afterwards. You still got the smoking risk, So it's very important to understand this, and I'll explain why this is. So you need what they call non-exercise movement protocol in your life. So basically there's lots written about sit less, move more. So 1 to 2 hours of exercise a week is not sufficient to deal with sitting 8 hours a day. You cannot turn it around. Even doubling that's not going to do that. And it's interesting why, because sitting mimics weightlessness in space. Have you thought about that? So if you're sitting, you're taking all the gravity away. So all the muscles that are made is exactly like you in the space. Now the people in space have to exercise 2 to 4 hours a day just to fight gravity loss. So if you want to fight this in a normal way, gravity by sitting, you have to exercise 2 to 4 hours a day to try and counteract that. But then one of the NASA specialists saw that the issues, don't exercise 2 hours here or 4 hours here, start spreading it. And the people did much, much, much better by doing low intensity, more frequent things during the day. And they basically said, stand up, go back and forth, like this. Walk around, but do a bit of washing, do this, sit it up, go outside in the gardening. So these are practical things of movement. So you need to really move a lot more. But as you get older, sometimes you've got a washing machine going, you sit maybe watching TV for maybe 2 hours and etc. So it's important to know that you need at least 7 to 10,000 steps a day. That doesn't count as your exercise, remember? A lot of people say to me, I walk a lot. I say, that's very good. That's very good. So you've done your middle part. So you need 7 to 10,000. That is just Pancella. You know what Pancella is? That just means it's just extra. So you haven't done your exercises yet. So you need to be so moving that 7 to 10,000 steps during your day is just keeping you from being in space, in a sense. So that's just important thought for it. So there's lots of articles you can read about. And then my son is going to show us an example just of sitting. And there's one test you can do for yourself. You can do it now or at home. It's optional. So there's a video. So if you can't go down and sit without holding onto the ground and get up without pushing yourself up, then there's a mortality rate linked to you. It doesn't matter what age you are. So my son's quickly going to show us what I mean by that. So now, not using your hand to the ground and up.
Just to pick up the video.
Okay, so this here. So this is 10 out of 10. Okay, I'm not going to show you now. Okay? So that's 10 out of 10. So if you can do that, your longevity, thank you, Michael, that's very good. Your longevity is high. But now go practice it at home and you'll be so, I was very surprised. Oh, I can't do that. No, everybody is. And I was surprised, and I was really disappointed, you know. And I think, you know, because I really thought myself, I was always a strong leg man. And but from all my sitting, I've really wasted some muscles away, you know. And you can really measure it. You can really it's indirect correlation between how long you live, depending on what you do. If you put your arm, you lose 2 points maybe. If you put your hand, you lose a point. And it's out of 10. I lost 1 or 2 points. So you can look, test yourself, because this test how you're in between your day is. You know, so you can look here, the sitting, rising test, index mortality risk. So that's interesting, huh? So you can look at these books, lots of books written about that. So basically standing up for every 15 minutes, every 2 hours, or up for 15 minutes every 2 hours is the standard that you should do. Or 1 or 2 minutes every 20 to 30 minutes, you have to get up. So that's the very least that you have to get up in your sitting day, you know, in that way. So in space, as we said, in activity, so if you're in space, you lose 5% bone every few months. You know, on Earth, if you're 20 years old, you lose 1% per year forwards of bone mass, you know. So you can see how if you sit, how much you're going to lose gravity. But also, now your vestibular system, which is your balance system, also goes. So the more you sit, the more you're going to feel off balance, you know. And I remember once trying to climb over a fence, you know, like those little, you know, fences, and I was quite surprised. I wasn't so agile to climb over a fence anymore, you know. And so it's really you lose things, and that's why older people fall. One of the reasons is because they've lost these muscles, and they've also lost the sense of balance because of sitting too much. Now, so you practically need to get up 32 to 36 times a day. It's a lot, huh? I don't know how they work it out exactly, but that's what they reckon. The NASA lady, she wrote a book about that. But make it all practical. Now, when you've got children, get a standing desk. Don't get your child a little sitting desk. Get a standing high one, you know. Get a ball, those big exercise balls to sit upon, you know, to get your child. So that helps with concentration, focus, and movement. So even at your work, if you can, get a stand-up desk. Then incorporate whatever you do. Go yourself, you know, make your own coffee. Okay, I'm joking. My wife always has to make herself, you know, but incorporate things to make it, you know, active in that way. Huh? So we're going to speak a little bit about exercise now, but again, this is the mitochondrial link. Can you see how mitochondria is linked? One of the most important reasons why we're going to go into this type of exercise as well is one of the things that sharpest, you know, improves your mitochondria health. So before we get into the program, there is an introductory type of thing that Dr. Noes have done. You know, I like his name as well, so he's a nice guy. And so he says you start walking 6 to 7 out of 10 exertion level, you know, for 3 minutes. And then you walk slower for 3 minutes and quick for 3 minutes again. And all that you do for 30 minutes, and they say do that in your lunch breaks. So in your lunch break, you won't be sweating because you do 6 to 7 out of 10, and you get that 30 minutes in and out. So that's just sort of a thinking. Then the whole concept of peak fitness and high intensity interval training, I'm going to leave over to our esteemed guests. Will you maybe just introduce him first? Thanks.
Who is doing exercise on a daily or a weekly basis? That's wonderful. So, yeah, JP, I'm very thankful that you could be here today. He's an expert on HIIT training, and we actually have a HIIT fitness center right here in Parklands. So, yeah, if you can please just thank you so much.
Awesome. Good evening, everybody. My name is JP, and thank you so much, Dr. Pierre and Krista, for allowing me this opportunity. It's an honor and a privilege. First of all, yes, so yeah, we have the high-intensity interval training facility at the Intercare Medical Center in Parklands. And the very first thing the clients ask when they step into the door, especially if it's the very first time, is, am I going to die? And I'm like, eventually yes, but not because of you being here. Everybody, we do high intensity interval training. I seldom, or most of the time, get the little bit of a fright on the face when we talk about that when they hear high intensity. But yes, it is basically this concept of working out where you are training intervals, work to rest intervals, and in your work intervals you really do hard work, and your rest is also it's minimal, okay? It is there, but we want to keep it structured in terms of, we want to keep the intensity of the workout nice and high. And there's obviously, for various obvious reasons, of the benefits that you reap afterwards because of doing high intensity interval training. Okay, so I'll be the first to say that it is fun, it is awesome, but you need to know what you are doing, or you need to know somebody that can show you what to and how to do. Okay, so basically the number one thing that stands out when doing high intensity interval training, or HIIT training, as we call it for short, is basically that it has a big influence on your or impact on your metabolism. Okay, I think I read an article where in the US they do studies yearly, but like majority of the guys say the same thing, that it's more or less 10% of our metabolism decreases by more or less 10% each and every year, just because of age, just because we get older. And yes, that is pretty normal. That's why we start to get a little bit bigger as we grow older. But also they've also found that your metabolism can be increased, significantly by up to 40 to 60%, no matter what age you are. And that's the amazing part that we are so interested about, and that means that you can, lose the fat weight and increase the metabolism, no matter what your age is or how you have been living for the last couple of years. So that's literally bound to how you train, and also how you obviously eat, the water, all of that kind of thing plays a big role. How you live to get to that increased metabolism again. Okay, so that is number one, and that's number one why we do HIIT fitness, or high intensity interval training. Number two, the second benefit that I really want to share with you tonight is that because of this type of training, or the method of training, it's short. You can get a great workout. Our workouts are 30 minutes long, and most of the time people are like, am I going to lose weight? Only 30 minutes. Yes. Are we going to warm up? Yes, you're going to warm up, and you're going to cool down afterwards. And they're like, what? But then that leaves us with about 20 minutes. How are we going to get these type of results that you are promising us? But it is really very effective. You don't need to train for longer than 30 minutes to get or reap the best benefits from exercise, and that's the amazing part. But also our energy levels gets impacted a lot better because of oxidation, and because of the fact that because you're working out in this way, you are forcing now your muscles to learn to accept or receive the oxygen in a much more sufficient or effective way, if I can put it that way. All of us inhale the same amount of oxygen, you understand, but not all of our muscles are willing enough to receive and accept it, okay? And that is why working out in this way just teaches the muscles also, or conditions the muscles in such a way where they receive and accept the oxygen a little bit better. So that means that we can work out and do more work for a bit longer than the others, hence fitness, okay? So we get fitter than our friends and our family members that don't work out in that way. And then lastly, basically also the big part of it is that doing this type of training and time, but it also helps us a lot with our feel-good hormones, and that is our endorphins, and this is where it makes such a big impact on our brains, as we are speaking of tonight, and your mood gets better because of this endorphin release. You get a massive endorphin release after training this way. Afterwards, your mood is better, you feel better about yourself, you can think better, function better, and that at the end of the day helps a lot with our brain health to make sure that we live our best lives that we possibly can be. So, without further ado, that is basically my touch on heat fitness. There's no other training that I would do as opposed to, you know, saving some time and getting the best benefits from a workout plan. And we are doing this on a daily basis, like I said, at the Intercare. If you ever want to pop in and come and see what it is all about, we are right there from Monday to Friday.
Can I ask one question?
Yes, you can.
Just a question for some people, maybe you don't exercise.
Yes.
Could you just, even if you just verbally explain, just a typical workout and some of those exercises, you know, just
yes.
for some people that don't know what kind of exercises they would be.
Yes, yes. It can be really, really simple. Also to really complex things, okay? Something like Dr. Pia has been explaining. So a good one to do, or combination that I always would say to do is, especially if you're looking to do, just to start somewhere with something, is what we call, I'm certain some of you have heard about it before, it's Tabatas, where you work out for 20 seconds, you rest for 10 seconds, and you repeat that for 4 rounds, okay? So I'm gonna just explain a little workout for you real quick. And this really is gonna target majority of the muscles in the body, okay? So upper and lower body. So we'll start off something like maybe a squat, okay? So that would be your first exercise, because that will target, obviously all of your movements generally target your core, but majority of your leg muscles will now be targeted during this movement. It is literally where I always say, imagine there's a seat behind you, but it's one step further from where it should be, and you want to go and sit on there, all right? So you push your hips back, bring your arms out in front, just for balance, okay? Stay with all your weight on your heels, and then you come back up, all right? So it's normal. Go and sit down, and you come back up. You keep your head up and you keep your back straight. Always within any exercise that you do, it doesn't matter in what gym you step into in the world, it's always important to whatever movement you do, keep your back straight. That is one thing that I can always say when it comes to exercise. So number one, you're going to squat. So we're going to do this for 20 seconds, all right? Then when your 20 seconds are done, you have a 10-second break, you immediately go into a push-up. Who can still do a push-up? Yeah, you. What's his name? Michael. Yeah, obviously Michael can stand up without his hands. So yes, if you were younger, it's much easier. But now that's why in our facility as well, we don't expect everybody to do the same thing. We've got different fitness levels, 1, 2, and 3. So a level 1 push-up, we'll go into the push-up position onto our knees with our hands right underneath our shoulders, like such, all right? So your hips are in line with your shoulders. Now all we do is, you say like, I don't know, you know? You shrug your shoulders, but your arms stay completely straight, okay? Locked elbows, you shrug your shoulders and push back up. In this movement, your core is targeted, your scapulars at the back are targeted, as well as your tricep muscles. And these are all the muscles that you use to do a normal push-up. Okay, so later on we'll go halfway, and as we advance, we'll later on go full push-up. All right, so now I'm saying 20 seconds of squats, 10 seconds rest, 20 seconds of scapular push-ups for 4 rounds, and you started with the workout. All right, so that's how simple it can get, up to complex workouts where we train for 20 minutes straight, that kind of thing with minimal rest and so forth. So it is really not difficult to exercise and to work out. Like Dr. Pia says, it's most of the time just about getting moving and getting the blood flowing. You later on get to a more advanced spot.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you.
Is there any age cutoff?
No.
Anybody can come.
Anybody can.
Thank you very much.
Awesome, thank you.
So we might, afterwards, if somebody wants a number, we'll just get the number. You can ask Krista or myself. So if anybody's just interested, I think it's really the focus and a way to go for the brain, at least in the body. So there's many different types of programs, and I think Tabata, as you said, is one of the most common one. One that I sometimes also think and do myself is a 20-minute one twice a week, but I think obviously 30-minute one will be a bit more intense, I think, in that way. And you basically, with this one, you do 3 minutes warm-up, whatever you're going to do, and you exercise hard and fast as you can for 20 to 30 seconds, meaning but you can't anymore. I mean, you're really sweating, you can't go a second more. Then you recover for 90 seconds while still moving, and then you do this 7 times, 8 times together, cool down for about 2 minutes, and this you do 2 weeks, but again under supervision, because there's multiple different ways to do that, even to injure yourself, you know, if you start too eagerly, you know. I tend to injure myself easily, because I've got a very high let me do it part, but my body is now 50 years of age, so I tend to, so I need supervision on this thing, so I might need to come ready. So thank you very much for joining us. It's really an important part for us to bring other people in, you know, to like your expertise. That helps us quite a lot, you know. So basically, a comprehensive program can include, on the one side, my favorite is definitely, as I said, this one here. But it can also include strength training. So generally speaking, you should still do somewhat bit of, say, weight training, because we know that different parts of the brain react differently to certain exercises. So high intensity intermittent training can definitely affect the deeper part of your brain in terms of your memory part and those sort of things. Weight training might do more your frontal part of the brain. So more stretching do different other part of the brain. So every type of exercise you do targets somewhat a little bit differently the parts. So aerobic, we all know. Strength training, the core, you've got 29 core muscles, they say. I don't think I've exercised all of them, but you've got them somewhere. And stretching. I like active isolated stretching is something that you can read up upon, you know, so this is a different way of stretching as well. And then obviously, so full comprehensive program, we'll have something into this, but I think it's important to get somebody to guide you. You don't have to do all of this all at once, and there's obviously different ways and different techniques for it. So our next meeting is 30th of November, Lord willing, and then we'll do all the things of our environmental toxins. I'm going to speak about how safe is EMF, G4, G5, how is it okay for your children to do that, what age, you know, is it okay, you know, should you put the Wi-Fi off at night, you know, what about plastic, what about, can you cook with aluminium foil, is antacids alright, PPIs alright, is cholesterol tablets alright, is, you know, we're going to go through all the practical things here. What about mercury fillings, you know, do you like that idea, you know, etc. So we're going to go through all the practical things. That it's quite a large topic to see that we live in a very toxic environment, and that's one of the reasons I believe that there's a broken brain syndrome, is that our environment is super toxic. The good thing is that our body does have its way to deal with it, but you can be overwhelmed by having just so much stuff coming into your life. So thank you. So it's a short and sweet. I'm not sure how long it was and if it was sweet, but for me, I enjoy speaking about health. So think about water, maybe in a different way, and also really make a committed effort to start your exercise program. Really do that. Don't procrastinate. Just do it, and get somebody that can oversee. That you can really have somebody that can say, why haven't you been here? You know, get a partner, get somebody, get your husband or your wife do together. Like this team is a really good example, I think, of how you've changed your lives. And doing it together and motivating one another and so on. And it's really been an example for all of us. But really start doing something. You know, I try in the mornings. You know, this is a little bit of my nitric oxide dumping. You know, I try. I don't think I do it. So sometimes I've worked too hard. But I try to do these little bring things in and make it a habit. And for last, what I do is I try to create small habits that reminds me of the big things I need to do. Take an example. When I drink coffee, I've told it before. I take the lid off. I don't drink hot coffee through cheap plastic, okay, because that plastic will get inside of me, okay. But that reminds me of what? All the other plastics. So I just only have to do this, then I remember all the other plastics. So my nitric oxide 3-minute dumping exercises reminds me of, wow, I need to really this day do something else. So do something small, but you do always. And that will remind you to do the big things. Don't start with the big things, start with the small things. Any questions that you guys have got for any of us? I think we're all got some sense of this topic.
I'm just curious about that bone mass loss of 1% a year. Is there any way of reversing that? Or
I think one has to consider a couple of things. I think one of all, your weight bearing is very good for bone density. You know, so that's really, so the more you can stand up and move and go, at least you're going to change the rate. I think that's one thing. Secondly, not only calcium. I think often we think calcium is the main sort of guy to get in. You know, but it's really magnesium, vitamin K2, so there's a whole group of things that you need to actually specialize in. But my view is I think exercise plays a massive role, and I think that getting the calcium, magnesium to K2, there's a whole group of things like that that one needs to get in as well. There's obviously other aspects as well, like blood flow and healthiness like that. But I can't in detail say more than that. I don't have so much knowledge about it. Maybe somebody else can say something else about that. Bone density. But don't become an astronaut. So one guy lost 30% of his bone mass in 6 months. In even exercising 2 to 4 hours in the spaceship. So you can become an astronaut by sitting. So that's it. Okay. Any other comments, maybe anything you guys want to add or ask?
This one last, you mentioned that when you wake up in the first
30 minutes,
30 minutes, there's something that, what, can you repeat that?
Yeah, it's your cortisol awakening response. It's CAR. There's a response where cortisol is secreted, which is your daytime hormone. We often think of cortisol only in the negative sense of stress, because it does increase with stress. But within the first 30 minutes of waking up out of your sleep, your cortisol is determined how much is secreted. 50% of that is secreted in 30 minutes. So if you're going to secrete 1 liter, which you want, then 500 moles will be secreted in the first half an hour. So what you do in the first half an hour is going to depend on how much you peak your cortisol. So if you just get up and you just chillax a bit and you just walk around a bit and under these lights, your melatonin sort of hovers a little bit and your cortisol hovers here, so you don't wake yourself up. And also you don't set, your brain doesn't know now the day starts. So you really need to let the brain know the day is starting by getting into the sunlight and by exercising. So that's how your day starts. So your cortisol goes high, melatonin goes low. Now when it comes nighttime, you want darkness because you want to spike your melatonin and you want to come into a peaceful situation so that cortisol can go down. So you don't, otherwise you're tired but wired on your bed. So you want to know, your brain needs to know, wow, it's daylight, circadian rhythm starts, and at night it knows it's really dark. And so you have to play around knowing your hormones. Take your serotonin. Serotonin is made in your gut. 90%, 95% in your gut. So how you eat in your gut flora, etc., determines what will happen a lot to your serotonin. So if you're depressed and sad, you have to focus very much on your gut flora. And the gut flora, again, that makes your serotonin. And serotonin is a precursor to your melatonin, which helps for your sleep. So that's why depressed patients sometimes struggle with their sleep, because serotonin is a precursor to that. So it's interesting, all these things are connected. But starting your day right. So I do in the mornings deep breathing exercises, looking at my diaphragm, to push my hand out so that I can fill my lungs with oxygen, fill my mitochondria. I do cold showers, which also spikes and releases BDNF, brain, factors like that. It wakens you up massively. So there's certain rituals that I do going forward to activate my day. So my day starts sharp. My brain feels really strong and awake and sharp. That's how you want to start. And when you want to go to bed, you want to really be relaxed and really in a contemplative way and etc. So it's really starting integrating, taking responsibility for your own life. And once you feel good, you really do it.
But Pierre, what happens if you exercise at night then? With
Yeah.
serotonin levels?
The problem with exercise at night is a couple of things. One is your core temperature doesn't go down for 4 or 6 hours. So the latest that you should exercise is 4:30. The best is in the mornings. If you can actually have time off to exercise everything in that morning as you wake up, that's the best of time. But if you've got a second option, 4:30, because it takes 4 to 6 hours to bring your core down. Now, if you come to bed with a warm core, so people are stressed have got a warm core. People that are bath 5 minutes before they go to bed have got a warm core. People that overdress when they go to bed, you mustn't overdress when you go to bed, have got a warm core. You need 28 degrees in your bedroom. So you need to get your core down. So exercising will raise it up. Obviously there's advantage of still exercising, but you have to keep in mind that it's not ideal for your sleep part. Yeah, that way. So what I really want to say is, you're welcome.
I just wanted to find out. There is something that I read that said that when you wake up and you drink water, it's very good.
Yeah.
Can you explain that?
Yeah.
Why is it?
You read it, my brother. So I can't go in detail on that. I'm not so intricate in doing this way, but you can think of it. You haven't had any water the whole night. To start off, some people relate what you drink with your heart attacks and so on. So some people say if you drink at certain times. So I'm not sure that's that article. So they say you have to have enough water before you go to bed, for many reasons. I'm not such a, I haven't read that it's absolutely important, but I do think obviously breaking your fast and having water in because you haven't had water the whole night will be important. But a lot of people would say that now it activates your stomach, especially if you put a little lemon in, when you've activated your gut system before you actually eat. You know, so that might be one reason for it. But the next is that you haven't had water for 8 hours at night. So that's obviously part of it as well. But I can't say, maybe it's more intricate than that, but I don't have finer details out. So my idea with all this talk is really that every one of you must become passionate about your brain and must become a professor of all the fine details yourself. You should read up on exercise. You should read up on water. You should read up on what you eat. You know, I'm not a professor in these things. I'm a neurologist. I mean, we don't do this so much. Okay, we should, but we don't. I do it because I enjoy it. So I train myself. I don't find this training elsewhere. And I do it because I enjoy it. But also I think if this is just a way of sharing it, it's okay. But unless it becomes part of your life, unless you say, wow, this is stimulating me to go look up for myself, it's not going to make such a big difference because you're just going to drift to your least effort. But yeah, so that's all said. Anybody else? Last thoughts, anything else? Okay, so Lord willing then, on the 50th of November, when we'll do all the special toxins, you know, all the bad guy stuff that wants to kill us. Thank you. Thank you. Early in the morning.